we're finishing up the hazards of delaying tshuva, and Rabbi Yonah tells us some more concerns about that. So we're on the bottom of page 8 or 9 in the Feldheim edition. Ba'ot Teda, you should also know, Ki hashayna avera achas eser pa'amim. Let's say you repeat a certain avera 10 times. Af al pi shenizar mikol averos, even though the person is careful from not transgressing all other averos, but this one he keeps repeating. Hinehu nechshav ka'ever al averos chalukos. It's considered as if you have transgressed separate averos. Next page. In other words, you would think that, okay, this is the one thing I'm really not good in. Okay, so I've got this one avera that I got to deal with. But if you do this avera 10 times a day, right? You multiply that by 365 days a year. That's already 3,500 averas. And multiplied by 50 years, you already have about 180,000 averas.
The mortgage.
Whatever. So it just keeps going. It doesn't stop. It's not just, well, this is the one thing I'm not good. I'm only doing one thing wrong. But it repeats over and over and over. So even a small avera is becoming a big avera. So that, so don't think it's just one avera. It's multiplied many, many times. It already compounds to become a very, very strong and significant thing. And this is what our rabbi said of blessed memory. The Gemara there says, if you tell the Nazir not to drink wine, and he drinks, al tishta, don't drink wine, vushos, and he drinks again, loka bachron al kol achas vachas, he receives at the end of the day he receives lashes for each and every time he drank the wine after the previous warning. Kimishvat ha'oichel treif, just like if someone eats food that's treif, ubehemet tmei, or from an animal that's not kosher, v'chelav adam, or certain fats that are not allowed, or blood, doesn't matter. You keep repeating it, you keep doing enough, you keep getting punished for it. Brings to mind the story we've mentioned in the past with the Vilna Gaon, and he had a student who went off the path of Yiddishkeit, and one day he came back to the Vilna Gaon, and for whatever reason he met with him. He was still very far away from his Yiddishkeit, and in front of the Vilna Gaon he has a glass of water. He's about to drink the glass of water. So the Vilna Gaon says, "Nu, make a bracha, say a blessing." So the fellow laughs, says, "Rebbe, I've done a lot worse than that. I mean, I'm going to eat pig on Yom Kippur, like, what are you bothering me with making a shahakal on a glass of water?" So the Vilna Gaon said to him, "You should know, even for this glass of water, you're going to pay for this one too, in the next world." Okay, so don't think, so I'm already a goner, so I'm gonna get it for Yom Kippur and for this and that. So I said, but even for this bracha you're not making, you're gonna get it. So it just shows you that every single thing is here and it doesn't go away and it has to be dealt with. Okay, that's pretty straightforward. So let's move on to Ches. So now, in conclusion of this topic, the last point he has to say about delaying the tshuva. So the whole idea of delaying the tshuva is from Sif Beis through Ches. That's what we've gone through far. So you see a number of reasons why delaying the tshuva is not a good thing. So he concludes and says, "V'ra'o ra'inu," and we have surely seen, "Ki rabo avonos hador al zeh," that there are indeed this generation. What did we say is in what year? 800 years ago, 900 years ago. Can you imagine? He says, even then there's a lot of sins like these. Now, some suggest to make a little repair over here in the wording, because if you read the next line, it doesn't seem to sing well. So some suggest to say Kiyesh Anoshim Rabim, to add the word She'enam Mikablim al Nafsham L'Hizor Me'averes Yiduos. There are many people who do not accept upon their souls to be careful from certain averes. That fits in with the word She'enam. without the word sheinam, it doesn't seem to.
You're right.
It doesn't fit. You should. That's some suggest to add the word sheinam, but you know what he means anyway. They're not careful. They don't accept upon themselves to be careful. And they're not careful about certain mitzvahs. They're just not careful. But for them, it's like things that are totally permissible. So now he's going to go through a list of them. The ilu and if their conduct was such, even for one avera of these, choli rohu benafsham, it's a very bad spiritual sickness. Kasher we've explained. Even for one, it's a mumar l'davar echad. You're a heretic for one in one area of the Torah, and lochelik l'olam haba, you don't have a portion of the world to come. The sin is repeating. It's harder to do tshuva. Whatever, all these, even for one, it's plenty bad. Right? However, af kinogim kain alasaras rabbis, but the point is they conduct themselves for many things that you're not allowed to do. It's more than one. We're carrying a lot of luggage. And of these you have even of the worst averis, that people think it's nasa keheter. It's not such a big deal. Because they, in their crooked minds, thinks it's quite a light thing. Now he gives us a number of items here. And it's interesting, you always have in all these contemporary rabbis, always do this. If you look at the Chovos Halvavos, the Sefer Duty of the Heart, one of his gates is the Sharei Teshuva, the gate of Teshuva. Shar Teshuva, the gate of Teshuva. And he himself lists a number of steps in the Teshuva process. He also goes through a whole host of things that people do that they need to do Teshuva for. So all the rabbis years ago were already throwing the list out. Kimo, for example. Now, we're going to go through each one quickly and say, why would a person think it's not such a big avera? Why do people do averas that are really terrible and they don't think it's a big deal? Big deal, like shvuas chinam. Let's say a person makes an oath that is not necessary, a wasted oath, because he figures, a person swears, but there's no need to swear about it. I swear to God, using God's name, that I went to the ball game yesterday. We don't need you to swear if you went to the ball game yesterday. Just say you went to the ball game yesterday. Or even better, don't tell us anything about the ball game. But what do you got to swear to get God involved in that, right? So it's a wasted oath. So people do that, and because they don't think I didn't lie. It's not like I lied. It's not like I made an oath and I lied. Right? I mean, you invoking God's name in an oath for something that's not necessary. What were you doing that for? But guy figures, I didn't lie. He curses out his friend using God's name, or he curses himself out using God's name. And again, he thinks that's not so bad, because if I curse my friend out, it's because he deserves it. He's a terrible guy. And if I curse myself out, well, what's wrong with cursing myself out? I'm not hurting anybody. Or you're mentioning Hashem's name in vain. Or at a place that's not pure. Certain places you're not allowed to mention Hashem's name. Or with hands that aren't clean. So again, the guy figures, what do you mean? I'm talking about God. It's a good thing to talk about God. God should be on your lips, right? But you're saying His name, for not unnecessarily. This person doesn't think it's so bad. And hiding your eyes from a poor person. You're not charitable. That guy figures, well, what's so bad about that? The poor man's supposed to take care of himself. He shouldn't be a sponge on society. People have to learn. Those guys in Eretz Yisrael should work for a living. My goodness. What are they coming to us and nudging us every day? You could see how that could happen. Right? The Lashon Hara, and speaking Lashon Hara, person figures, it's just talk. I'm just saying things. I'm not really doing any things. Right? So that can't be an Avera. Or, what do you mean? It's true. It's true. Everybody should know about it. Right? V'sinas chinam, and baseless hatred. V'gav, which is person figures it's only in my heart. I'm not really doing anything. I just hate his guts. But I didn't hurt him. I didn't do anything to him. Right? V'gav hus halev, and arrogance of the heart, having a lofty heart, as it were. Person's conceited. Again, person, I haven't done anything. It's something inside of me. But we'll see later on in the third gate, Rabbi Yonah says it's one of the negative prohibitions of the Torah, not to be arrogant. And we know, for example, it says in the prophets that anyone who is arrogant, it is considered a toeva before Hashem, an abomination before Hashem, and it's like a person worships idols. That's how bad an arrogant person is. Unesinas chitis, and casting fear over other people. Histakel barayus, and looking at immoral things. Right? I mean, that's just look at any billboard. Go half a mile down the street and look at a billboard. Uvitul Talmud Torah keneged kulam, and wasting time from studying Torah. You have a chance to study Torah, you just waste it. That's equal to all of them in negativity. V'rabos ke'elu, and many like these. There's many of these averos that all the rank and file of Jews can, obviously fall prey to. So kasavnu miksasam al bnei hador lahaskirim lasim. I've written only a few of them to this generation to remind them and to warn them about these. And really it's very fitting and proper that anyone who's on the path to doing tshuva and wants to be a real Baal tshuva should write down and have a little journal all the things which they have stumbled in, all the areas that they are very weak in, about mitzvahs or mitzvahs in which they've been very brief in doing. In other words, mitzvahs you haven't really done so properly. People who come late to Shul, and minyan starts at 6:45, and to daven properly, you got to be there at least 5-10 minutes beforehand, put your tefillin on, say brachas, and now you got to daven properly. So now what does the guy do? He comes in at 7 o'clock, a minute before Baruch Hu, and he's quickly putting his tefillin on, during the Kaddish before the Baruch Hu. I don't know what happened to Pesukah de Zimra, and somehow he ends up, he finishes before the rest of the congregation does, and he's knocked off davening in 15 minutes. Okay, so he's going to say to the guy, you're not davening. You're not davening. So what are you talking about? I'm not davening. I came to Shul. What do you mean? I came to Shul. Yeah, but 15 minutes doesn't cut it. But in other words, they're doing the misses as short as possible, getting through with the minimum requirements. So you should write it all down. Velikro b'sefer zichronos b'chol yom, and it should be his book of chronicles. It should be his diary. Every day to read it. Why? So you should be conscious of it. It does a lot for you. Even the people who are, they're trying to work on people's weight loss. One of the things they tell you to do when you're in the program is to plot out and chart what you eat. People figure, what am I eating already? I don't understand why I'm gaining weight. So write down and read. You see, 11:30 at night, a pint of ice cream.
They never write.
You write a pint of ice cream, a half a fudge brownie cake. Okay, it doesn't look bad. The morning you had some bran cereal, and lunch you had a tuna sandwich, and at supper you had chicken and a salad. But then wait a minute, with that pint of ice cream, it doesn't go away. But if you don't write it, it's not real. So when you write these things down, you can't lie to yourself. So you write down today, it said Lashon Hara at 9 o'clock in the car. Saying how terrible my boss is. Said Lashon Hara at 9:01 when I was saying how bad the drivers are in the city. It said Lashon Hara at 9:02. All of a sudden you see this 15 before lunch. Then you realize, maybe I do talk Lashon Hara. Yeah. And then you can't deny it. It's written. You wrote it. It's reminiscent of the Gemara that says, the Chazal that say that everything that you do in your life, in the world to come, you're going to sign the certificate. You're going to fill it in, and God's going to say, now sign it. You're going to sign it. You're going to have to admit, this is what I did. And Hashem says, okay, now I have to deal with it. But you can't deny the facts. I think we live in a world where that is the whole point of life, is to deny the facts. It says, the politicians are the best at this. They'll never say, I was wrong and I should be punished. What's the word they always use? It was exercising poor judgment. That sounds so good, doesn't it? It says, no, it should say, I'm a bum. I'm a terrible guy. I get in altercations with cyclists when I'm parked somewhere, and I'll smash them against a curb. Oh, I didn't know there were video cameras. Nuts. If it wasn't for the video cameras, I'd be okay. And then they're trying to interview him, and he says, well, I have really what he doesn't say. He says, I have to think of how I'm going to get myself out of this one, so I don't want to make any comments until the lawyer has taught me how to say what I should say, so I can still be looked at favorably as a former Attorney General in Ontario. Right? So, they're not looking for the truth. No one's looking for the truth. How can I keep my name? How can I look good and everything else? No, just do it straight. Just say, you're a Russia. Finished. Now we can start. Now there's a hope. So that's what I said. If you write it down, that itself would be a major step. If you merely wrote it down, it would be a major step. If you don't write it down, you don't really think it's ever happened. Till it's written down. And that's what he's suggesting we should do. Okay. Sif Tes, we're now concluding the last Sif before we finally get to the 20 steps. So it's only been 8 lessons. People are expecting, I have to hit the 20 steps. But I think this was very important, what he's trying to say, why Teshuva is such a gift, why it's so terrible to delay. You got to really, he's trying to sell you on this topic. So let's continue with Tes. V'hinei, Madregos Rabos l'Teshuva. There are many levels for Teshuva. Ulafia Madregos, and according to the levels that a person attains in this process, Yiskorei fa'odam el HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Hashem will get closer to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And this line, this one little line, immediately teaches us that the idea of returning to Hashem is not merely a way of removing punishment, but ideally, Teshuva is what? Rebuilding a relationship. He says it straight out. You don't have to wait for all the modern 21st century talk about Teshuva. Rabbi Yonah said it himself. For a person to yiskore fa'adam al HaKadosh Baruch Hu, for a person to get closer to Hashem, it's all about the relationship. That's what Teshuva is. Since Teshuva, returning to God, is rebuilding a relationship, so we all know in human relationships, there are different levels of relationships. Think of the people that you know. You could say there are people that, number one, what about this guy? I know who this guy is. I know about him. That's about it. Then the next level is he's an acquaintance. I've met him a few times. I've seen him at simchas. Then the next level is he's a good friend. And then the next level is he's a dear friend. Then the next level is he's my confidant. And then the next level is he's my best friend. So, there's a bunch of levels over there that we have with all people, right? So if there are different levels of relationships with people, and the whole concept of Teshuva is to building up the relationship with Hashem, so obviously there will be different levels of Teshuva that will exist. At the end of the day, it's up to us to decide what kind of relationship we want with Hashem. And some of us just want to say, okay, let's just make sure we have a friendly, cordial relationship. And that any time God looks at me down from Shemaim, He's not angry with me. And that's fine. Let's just keep it at that. Let's keep an arm's length distance. That He doesn't come down looking to punish me, and once in a while He picks up my postcards, and He fills the orders that I send, and in 3 business days my order is filled. It's great. You have to order shirts for my son. You go to all the stores. It's like crazy. Can't get it. He says, Abba, all the boys, they go to this website. boom, you'll get it in 3 days. Sure enough, if the plastic stretches enough, you can get it, and in 3 days you make the order and it's in. And that's my relationship with that company. That's the relationship I have with this company. It's a good company, fine. I don't think about them except when I need a shirt. That's it. Go to the website, bing, bing, bing. In 3 days, I get the shirt. I think many people would like to have such a relationship with Hashem. He says, the web company. Hashem, I need help this week, and it better come in. And we want it faster than 3 days. We want like mamish UPS, same day delivery without any extra charge. And that's one kind of relationship with Hashem. But obviously that's okay. It's okay if that's what you're looking for. But so obviously there's ways we can mark those levels of the relationship. And obviously the higher the level is, the closer the person is to Hashem. So that's why you have all these steps over here, because it depends on what kind of relationship do you want with Hashem. And I dare say that perhaps many people are not interested in the highest level relationship with Hashem. It gets them quite uncomfortable. And that's why it's going to have to be more than, as we'll see, the simple 3 steps, as he's going to continue. V'amnam, so there's a lot of levels. V'amnam, truly, l'chol tshuva timtza slicha. For any type of tshuva, there will be slicha. There will be forgiveness. Right? You have the 3 bare minimum steps of regret and confession and commitment in the future. There will be levels of forgiveness. Doesn't necessarily mean now that you've rebuilt the relationship that's been broken, or for that matter that never was. But forgiveness, yeah. The fact is that he won't suffer for what he's done in the past, and that he has the chance to begin again the new year to a certain degree. Well, that you have with any level of tshuva. So he's not minimizing that there are lower levels, and you can come out of this high holiday shopping season with a minimum level. Let's just make sure he doesn't bother me this year, and make sure he gives me some brachas. And as long as I can, make it happen on my own, I'm very happy. Just make sure I don't get sick this year. Make sure that nothing terrible happens to my closest friends. Make sure that I recover with the economy. And that's basically fine. And let me take care of the rest. And just, I know I did a lot of errors, and you could wallop me, and just let me go, and I'll be a good boy in terms of that. So, you can get that if that's what you're looking for. If that's what you're looking for, that's what Hashem can give you. But, now he gets very specific here. But you could get that. Sitar hanefesh tohar sholem lios ha'avonos kolohay. But you will not achieve a purity of soul so complete that it's considered that the sins are as if they didn't exist. That far it isn't going to go. He's talking now about a thing called tahara, purity. To say you have purity, that, 3 steps isn't going to be enough. It's not, so what is purity? What is purity? You hear the word purity, so I know you think of ivory soap. 99 and 44/100 pure. So you think that you're a soap bar. It's not, or lovely pictures with a halo on top of your head. But purity has some very specific symptoms that any spiritual doctor would be able to tell right away if a person has purity. And the 2 main ones are, number 1, purity means that a person has a certain spiritual sensitivity, appreciation, and understanding of spiritual values. Certain concepts, spiritual concepts that has been integrated into the person. A person who has not acquired a total purity is going to lack the ability to be able to be sensitive towards certain spiritual goals and values, and for that matter to have the strength to be able to pursue those goals and values. You don't have that, you're not a pure person. And number 2, the spiritual impurity also means that some of the spiritual potentials that you have are now handicapped. Which means everybody's born and created with certain spiritual potentials, and there can become now flaws and blemishes that can go into the system by virtue of the fact that we've done things wrong. And those situations which handicap our spiritual potentials, they create a situation which is called an impure soul. An impure soul, not a pure soul. And what's an impure soul? An impure soul is the inability to function in the way that it was created to function, and gives the person a certain lack of being able to perform and doing things that a Jew should do. And what's in its wake is this void. And that void becomes the opposite of holiness. You're supposed to be filled with this holiness. And if it's not there, it's not like it's just not there. There's a void, and all kinds of terrible things get in there. So Rabbi Yonah is saying that there's no question that if a person is only out there to get forgiveness, then the lowest levels of returning will afford a person this forgiveness. But if a person is ultimately interested in being spiritually sensitive and not handicapped in terms of spiritual growth and ability to reach Hashem and to feel close to Hashem, if you want that, that's going to demand the deeper process of returning these 20 steps of Tshuva. So that's the question everyone has to ask themselves, like, what are you looking for at the end of Yom Kippur? What are you looking for? Yeah. So he continues, every line we have to stop. So he won't get that Zulasi unless Kasher Yitayar Adam Es Libo, until the person does purify his heart. V'yochin es rucho kasher yispoer, and will prepare his heart and make his spirit, as will be explained. So let's see what we got over here. A second, I'm trying to keep this up with my notes over here. All right. Zula. Okay. So here you see he's talking also now, as we're going to elaborate more, this idea of the heart. We've got to get the heart in the right place, as we'll see. V'chein kasuv, and similarly the pasuk says, King David says, Ashrei Adam lo yachshav Hashem lo avon. Fortunate is the person that Hashem doesn't consider the person's sins. That's one thing. Ve'ein berucho rimiyo, and there is nothing crooked left in his spirit. So that's the 2 points right there in the pasuk. That's where he gets this from. Rabbi Yonah is not making any of this up. He's taking words of the Tanakh, and it's right there. So the first one says, Asher lo yachshav lo Hashem lo avon. First, the person Hashem doesn't consider his sin, so nothing's held against you. You're not going to get punished. But the next thing is, and there isn't rimiyah, crookedness in his heart. There's nothing left wrong in the spirit of the person. The spirit is good. Now that's going to take a lot more. And he gives the classic example that we mentioned in the first class. Just like a garment that needs laundering to be cleaned. Returning to the next page. A little bit of cleaning. It will help to remove the surface dirt. But if there's more of this cleansing, then it will get cleaner. So tshuva is the same as the analogy of cleaning a garment. A person wears a garment, and that garment is the person's neshama. That's the person's neshama. So it's possible for that garment to be tainted to a certain degree, and the taint of that garment has to be cleansed. And the cleansing of the garment goes according to the intensity of that person's tshuva. V'chein kasuv, and that's exactly what the pasuk says. David says, Herev kapseini mavoni. Hashem cleansed me abundantly from my sins. V'hu chabeis hanefesh min avon, and the soul is cleansed from the sin. Kifi asher techabeis es libo, to the degree that a person cleanses his heart. What are we cleaning over here? You're cleaning the heart. Shenemar, as the pasuk says, kapseini Mira'a libeich. wash me from the evils of my heart. Yerushalayim, Jerusalem. Okay? Jerusalem, wash your heart from your wickedness. The Prophet is saying, you got a lot of wickedness. So what are we washing? The Pasuk says, you're washing the heart. You're washing the heart from that. See, in other words, what he's saying is you've got to redirect your desire, your aspirations in the proper areas which act as a cleansing factor for the person. And our rabbis of blessed memory said, Ashrei ish yoreyas Hashem. Fortune's the person who fears Hashem. It's called Ashrei ish. Ish. Ba'odo ish, while he's still a man. Ratzaloimer meaning to say, Ki tshuvas ha'adam ha'mu'ula b'mei b'chur rasav. The best tshuva that person can do is when he's young. Ba'odo kol chalav, when his strength is still with him. V'yisgaber al yitzhar, and he has to overcome his yitzhar. So what he is saying here, straight from King David, he's saying it's very possible for a person to mislead himself. The yitzhar will mislead you and say, listen, for the first 40, 50 years of my life, I'm going to have a good time. Because I know now, they said the average lifespan now is probably up to 76. 86? Yeah.
If a woman, it's about 86.
86, can you imagine? Okay, so till I'm 50, I'm going to have a really good time. And that's okay. And why waste the prime of my life on being religious? What a waste. Because I have a very simple solution. When I start getting over the hill, so at 50, you start to lose a little bit of that edge. You're already going on the back nine on the golf course. And the back nine goes a lot faster than the front nine. So, I see my strengths are waning, and you know what? And it ain't that much fun anymore. I've done what I can do already. You've seen 50,000 silly movies. There's no new plots anymore. They're just reruns and remakes. We've lost any more creativity. They don't make movies like they used to make movies, and all the other pleasures of life. My stomach is a mess, so I can't have these food festivals at 2:00 in the morning anymore, and I don't have the strength to be up late anymore. So now when I'm over the hill, and my blood isn't boiling, then I will return to Hashem. So Rabbi Yonah is saying that another angle of the highest levels of tshuva, besides the 20 steps, it's also, when you do the tshuva. When you have all your strengths and all your desires, and you learn to channel those strengths in a positive way, rather than wait till they dissipate and there's nothing left anyway, and you're really not coming back with anything to Hashem. If you're younger and you have certain real koyches, real powers, and you're using them in the wrong way. Now, we've learned many times in the Hasidic Sforim that the fact that you do things wrong, that only highlights the strengths that you have, and that they have been captured and they're going in the wrong place. And when we do Averos, we always do things with a lot more gusto than when we do mitzvahs. Now we know. And we realize, whoa, I really have a lot of passion to doing certain things. And so now you know that, now take that passion for things that are good. Then that really is the biggest tshuva you can do, because now you're recapturing that which was yours, you're using it the way it's supposed to be done, and now they're being used in the most amazing ways. That's great. But when you're already an older person, and there's not much left of what you got, so what are you bringing back to Hashem? Okay, you feel sorry and this, and we'll see in a minute what he's going to say about that. But there's so much that's lost that you can't bring back to Hashem anymore. You just don't have those powers anymore. So you be a good boy, but you're not really doing a lot by being that good boy. Person's younger. Let's say they have a brilliant mind, and they just fill it up with stupidities, right? So, really supposed to fill it up with Torah and Gemara and this and that. And when you do that at a younger age, you can cover a lot of territory in Talmud and areas like this. When you get older already, it's a lot harder. It doesn't go in so easy. We're not, trying to dissuade people from learning when they get older, but it's going to take a lot more effort to accomplish. So Better do it when you're younger. So that's the point he's making over there. Yes?
Doing Teshuva requires physical strength more than it requires intellectual strength?
It certainly requires intellectual strength, but when we're talking about changing behavior, the degree of physical strength that you have will enable you to accomplish certain things.
What physical requirements are for doing Teshuva?
No, post-Teshuva. In other words, now that I'm changed, my behavior is different, right? Now that I've changed, right? Can you, when you were younger, you put in long days of just wasting your life. Now you're doing tshuva at an older age. You don't got the koach to do the things that you wished you could have done 30 years ago. You just don't. You don't have the strength of the stamina. All these things just aren't there.
We're not talking about just education here.
It's not just education. It's doing chesed, channeling your passions from anger to fervent prayer.
So isn't this a more fertile time to do the averas to start with?
What, when you're older?
But
when you're older, it's not so much you who's stopping to do the averas. It's just your body can't do it anymore.
Fine.
But that's not a change of you. That was a natural physiological phenomena that happens, and no matter what, you're too old to do the things that are wrong. That's not you. It's the body just isn't willing anymore. You have to be able to, when you really have the power to really do nasty things, and to rechannel that power with all the vigor and all the gusto to do something that's amazing. That's what, for example, that's the Rebbe says, if you see a child who has a big temper, so he says, don't throttle the child, don't squash it. Rechannel the temper can be the most fervent prayers. The kid could be on fire praying to Hashem. Yeah, but you know what? When you're 85 years old, you're not on fire. You're not on fire. I mean, you could be a nice person, but you're not on fire. Right? So that's enough. For all the years you had a temper, you never really dealt with it. Okay, you're finally getting old enough, you don't have the koach to get angry anymore. You don't have the koach to get angry anymore. You don't have the koach to fervently pray either. But when you do tshuva, when you're 23, there's anger all over the place. And you take that fire, instead of directing it at people, you rechannel it internally, and now that fire comes out when you're trying to have a heated up relationship with Hashem, and you're fervently prayer. Now that's exactly what tshuva is supposed to do. Take all those talents that have been misdirected and use them with all the strength in the right way. That's what Hashem really wants. Now you've given Hashem something. But if you're older, so you don't do the averos. It's not out of your free will choice. You just
How old was he when you wrote this book?
I'd have to check exactly.
And most of the sefurim that are really written by tzaddikim are written at their older age. They're not written when they're 20.
Some, not all. A lot wrote things. Luxado never made it to 40.
39 is not 20.
But he wrote a lot of the stuff before. And more than that, they know from experience. They're saying from experience.
Uh-huh.
But these are reality. Don't think these rabbis didn't do tshuva before. They did. They did plenty of tshuva before. Right? So that's what he's saying. So okay, I mean, it's we're not saying it's worthless, chas v'shalom, but don't wait to get too older. But he ends off. We'll try to finish this at least tomorrow. We could start the steps. Ochein called tshuva moila, but you should know every tshuva helps. Don't give up hope and say, "Oh, what am I learning this book? If I'm already old, what's it help?" No. Because first you should know, even older people are still awfully stubborn about tshuva if they want to be. Awfully stubborn. They say, I'm so old, I can't change. Right? You see, Hashem gives the biggest bracha. As you get older, as you turn 50, the libido starts to go right down the drain. So I think Hashem is giving the biggest schus now, because, we have so few schuyot anymore, so few merits. And Hashem is saying, I think Hashem really is saying, and we need a lot of tshuva, and who's going to tshuva? Older people, but what's their tshuva worth? They're older people, right? Mm-hmm. So as Hashem said, I came with a new thing called Viagra. So now guess what? Even if you're old, you can still have the koach to do it.
Yeah.
You can still have the koach to do it. Now you still have a free will choice. Don't take it.
Delete it from your email.
You know, and they get bombarded. I don't know about you, I get maybe at least 20 a day. This and Cialis, I don't know how to pronounce the word place. You know, it's all day long. Take it. So you figure, hey, what a nudge. I think this is Hashem is giving it every time you delete a Viagra thing, you get a mitzvah. This is disgusting, I don't want it. Now, and I'm sure there are plenty who are not deleting, right? So you get a change, getting a mitzvah every time you delete. Huh? I'm not. So that now Hashem is right. I mean, well, let me try it. Let me see. They're all talking about it, and the pictures show the men all smiling after they take it, and the wives are smiling, right? So I'd like my wife to smile a little bit more. Okay, I'll take one and see what happens. So Hashem is saying no. So even that Hashem is still giving you a chance. It's amazing what Hashem is doing. He doesn't want the older people to not have it, because as you're getting older, you have false ways of having more koyach to do averas. So now you're saying you need a strength of character to just not take the pill. And it must be selling millions of them. It must be. I have no idea. I don't know anything about it. But just by the advertisements.
And divorce in the older age is growing.
And divorce in the older age is growing because it's all there. But he's saying, no, for every tshuva helps, as it says, Toshev Enosh Adaka. Man should return until Daka, until he's crushed. Vatomer, and it says, Shuva b'nei Adam. Return man. Remember, the rabbis of blessed memory said, what does it mean? Adaka, until it's crushed. Adichducha shel nefesh, until the crushing of life. In other words, you should return to Hashem until your last breath. So in conclusion, what Rabbi Yonah is saying, not only is tshuva in your later life considered a significant tshuva, but it's a tshuva that Hashem is asking for and Hashem is waiting for.
They say the opposite.
No. So one could assume that the best time to do tshuva is when we have all our faculties and all our abilities and we've rechanneled them. That's true. That's an amazing thing. But at the very end, Rabbeinu Yonah is telling us that even if we lost that opportunity, whatever we do have left, and if we channel whatever we have left, is also tshuva, but it's not only that. Rabbeinu Yonah is saying that Hashem asks for tshuva at any point in life, and any time that the person is at. And that's that verse, Tashuv Enosh Adaka, Vatomer Shuv B'nei Adam. The prophet is saying, return, even you people who are crushed, you're right at the end. Hashem's asking everyone at any point in life that they're in to rechannel your energies in the proper way. So it's not like Hashem says, I have my priorities and I'll address the group that has the most energy to return. And in God's, and that's all. I'm only interested in the young professionals to invest millions of dollars in their tshuva, which is, there's something to it. But Hashem says, you know what? Older people coming back is very significant. Every single person who comes back to me is important. And Hashem asks equally, everybody should be rechanneling their energies. And that's what Hashem wants. And He really wants it. So don't think that you're not the target market that Hashem is looking for in terms of Teshuva. Because even at the very end, He's looking for Teshuva. There's a little bit more to talk about. And we'll leave that for tomorrow as we begin the 20 steps tomorrow, God willing.